And perhaps, Congressman, you can respond to the breaking news as we're learning it as well. Again, the overall message here at the U.S. Embassy urging U.S. citizens in Ukraine to consider departing now. Get out. What does that tell you?
Well, it tells me that we're in a situation where we obviously have a president that's weak. We can't afford to pull another Biden on this. We can't do what happened in Afghanistan. I think we're going to have to stand strong. And quite frankly, and rather than just have sanctions after something happens, I think we should begin with at least some sanctions now to let the Russians know that we're serious and that we're strong and that we're going to arm up. We're not going to put our troops there, but we're going to have the troops that are there, the Ukrainian troops, have the arms that they need, have the power they need to deal with this in any way possible. The sanctions, I think, should start to begin now, because rather than retreating, rather than going a little bit softer, Putin is actually going harder. This is no joke. This is just one more thing that this president has screwed up. It's so unbelievable. Every time I think you couldn't do anything worse, you couldn't make another mistake, somehow he's on his way to doing that. And by the way, this all is happening because of the weakness that he portrays to the world.
Yeah, I was going to ask, is there any sign of strength that you've seen from how this White House has handled the response? Again, we've got 8,500 troops who are on standby, possibly to deploy to Eastern Europe, not necessarily Ukraine. Still some talks of sanctions going on, but does that need to happen immediately?
Well, this is the issue. First of all, having we've got 8,500 troops, but they're not in Ukraine, nor do I want them in Ukraine. So I'm not sure exactly what the president is doing there, trying to create a little more security in the area, I guess. I think we need to be strong. So I don't want, again, I don't want any boots on the ground. I don't want any of our troops, risking their lives there. But I do think economic sanctions have to begin. When Russia feels the strength of the economic sanctions, it's really going to make them think twice. Once he's fully engaged, if Putin gets fully engaged in this, he's not going to back off. He's going to, even if the Russian people suffer, he is going to keep going. So we may have to make that unpleasant for him to even think about doing it. And I think we got to look at sooner rather than later and let him know that.
Well, you talk about the power of economic sanctions. Let's turn this domestically now to something that all Americans can relate to, and that is how the economy is impacting them personally. We have seen 40-year inflation. Again, the Fed Reserve meeting today, the Fed to raise interest rates possibly in March. Is that a solution here to lower the cost that we've seen for everyday goods?
Well, the problem is with the Fed and what they're going to do, it can obviously easily create a recession type of environment, if not a recession itself. Again, something that we've really got to be concerned with. Everything the president has done has been wrong, and it's all like a puzzle. So when you don't deal with the COVID issue correctly, and you actually are removing people from the workforce because of the vax mandates, you then create even worse conditions for inflation. You create worse conditions for inflation, and the whole thing continues to spiral. Not only do we have inflation, but we have a shortage of goods. We have too many dollars chasing too few goods. And at the same time, we have too many people that aren't working. And a lot of it is because they don't want the vax mandates. And on top of that, the president then decides that we're going to make it harder on truckers. These truckers who we rely on to bring goods and services all across this great country, now we're going to make it tougher for them. Some of them aren't going to be working now, too, with the new mandates that they're putting in place. So each step is a puzzle piece, and each puzzle piece makes the entire puzzle uglier than it even was before.
What do you think is the top priority for this White House, and what would you like it to be?
Well, I think the top priority for this White House seems to be one word, actually two words: vax mandates. All they can think about, all they can talk about is, everybody's got to get vaccines, and not everybody is feeling the same way. That's up to individual human beings to decide, individual Americans, if they want to get the vaccine or not. If they don't, that's their right. I got the but not everybody has to, and we have to realize that. But that's all they're emphasizing, and it's actually hurting segments of the economy. It's hurting other parts of the country. It's actually tearing the country apart in many ways. It's a bad thing. And what it's doing educationally to our kids and psychologically what our kids are going through, et cetera. We know all that. What I would say to this president, and I do say to the president, I put this information out, and this is going to be a little harsh, but if he's going to continue to go down this road, he should resign. He is doing a bad enough job. He is the worst president we have ever had, I believe, in our history, that certainly I can ever remember, but even from what you read in history. Wow. Otherwise, what he should do is one word: strength. Deal with COVID in a strong way, but make sure that people maintain their rights. Deal with what's going on in Ukraine in a strong way. Start manufacturing our own goods. Show strength to our police and to crime, and believe in the rule of law. There's so many things he needs to get out there and say, I'm the president. We're going to do the right thing. We're going to make sure this country is a strong and functioning country.
Yeah, well, we saw the president yesterday. He went out to stop by a local boutique and an ice cream shop as he begins year 2 of his presidential term here. But I wanted to ask you about some retirements that we're seeing. 29 House Democrats, they say that they're no longer seeking re-election here. You see them on your screens. There is, though, one name that's not up there. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, she says she's going to run again. Care to comment on who's leaving and who wants to stay?
Well, first of all, a lot of them are leaving because they know what's going to happen. And they are either leaving because they think that they may not win. And then some of them also are leaving because they know we're going to have a new majority in Congress. And we're going to look into a lot of things and hopefully straighten out as much as we possibly can, because I don't know how much support we'll get from the president. Nancy Pelosi, it's time for her to go. Remember, when I was a Democrat years ago, my first vote was to vote no on her as being in the position that she is in. So I don't believe she belongs in that position. I don't believe she belongs in Congress anymore. She also has made too many fatal errors, in my opinion, and hurt this country too much to be there. Unfortunately, her district she'll win no matter what. But she's also going to help very much the Republicans. All the action she's taken as Speaker, all that she's done, certainly has created a lot of the polling that you see. And frankly, I welcome it. If she's really what represents the Democratic Party, run, Nancy, run hard and give it everything you got and put it all out there.
Yeah, I always forget, former Democrat turned Republican, Congressman Jeff Van Drew, joining us on the program with his predictions for the midterms. Congressman, thank you so much. We do appreciate it.